My salary just hit $100,000, double what I made 5 years ago. I should feel free. But this morning, I checked my account. $34 left. Almost exactly where I started. I wasn't reckless. I hadn't blown it all on some ridiculous purchase. I'd simply spent 5 years making decisions that seemed completely reasonable, one at a time. So how did twice the salary leave me with almost nothing more? 5 years ago, I made $50,000 a year. I split a 2-bedroom apartment with a roommate. Groceries, rent, a few nights out, nothing extravagant, nothing careless. At the end of most months, there was a little left over. Not much. Enough to feel okay. I figured the problem was simple. I just needed to make more. More money would mean more room to breathe. Then came the first raise. The raise came faster than I expected. $65,000 a year now. After taxes and deductions, my monthly paycheck was roughly $800 higher. For the first time, I looked at apartment listings of my own. Not shared, not split, just mine. I found one. A little smaller than I wanted, but quiet. No roommate's dishes in the sink. No negotiating who used the living room. Rent, $1,700 a month. About $800 more than my half of the old place. I did the math once, quickly in my head. The raise covers it, and after years of sharing a place, having one of my own didn't feel extravagant. On paper, it worked. What I didn't notice, what almost nobody notices, is that the extra money coming in and the extra money going out had quietly become the same event. The raise had already been spent before I'd even celebrated it. My breathing room hadn't grown, it had just moved. Same cushion as before, just a nicer apartment around it. The next raise felt different. $80,000 now. And this time, after rent, something new showed up at the end of the month. Room. Real room. More than I'd had in years. For a few months, I let myself enjoy it. I ate out without checking my balance first. I said yes to a weekend trip without doing the math 3 times. This is different, I thought. I'm finally getting ahead. And I was for a little while. My car had over 140,000 miles on it. It had started making a sound I didn't want to name, and the repair shop was starting to feel like a second home. A newer car wasn't a want. It was, I told myself, overdue. I financed something reliable, reasonable monthly payment. Nothing flashy, but a car payment doesn't come alone. Higher insurance. The occasional parking fee I never used to think about. Together, it took a real bite out of the room I'd just started to feel. Not all of it. I still had more breathing space than I'd had at $65,000. Just less than I'd expected to have at $80,000. Progress. Just quieter than it looked from the outside. The jump to $100,000 didn't come with a single decision worth remembering. There was no new apartment, no new car, no moment where I sat down and chose anything. What changed was quieter than that. Dinner with coworkers, the kind that used to be for birthdays, started happening most Fridays. Nobody suggested it exactly. It just became the thing the group did. A rideshare stopped being a decision and became a reflex. Tired after work? I didn't think about it. I just tapped the button. A weekend trip that once took weeks of planning and budgeting now got decided on a Tuesday and booked by Wednesday. None of it felt like spending more. It felt like normal life, except normal had quietly become more expensive. My friends weren't reckless, neither was I. Everyone around me was simply living at the income they were now making, and my income happened to fit right in. The dangerous part wasn't any single dinner or any single trip. It was that none of it registered as a choice anymore. By the time I reached $100,000, I wasn't deciding to spend more. I had simply redefined what normal costs. 5 years after my first raise, I finally did something I'd never actually done. I didn't check my balance. I sat down and added it all up. Not the vague sense of where my money went, the actual numbers. Home, rent, and utilities. Even that had crept. The $1,700 apartment I'd been so proud of was $2,200 now. I hadn't upgraded it. It had just gotten more expensive to keep. CAR, the payment, the insurance, the gas, everyday life, groceries, my phone. The small health costs nobody budgets for, debt tes. The student loan I'd almost forgotten was still there, quietly every month. My new normal, the dinners, the rides, the trips that got easier to book and harder to notice, and the expenses with no name, the ones that don't fit a category, that just happen. I added my monthly take-home, roughly $5,700. I added everything going out, $5,666. I stared at the difference for a long moment before I let myself say it out loud. $34. I wasn't reckless. I hadn't blown it all on some ridiculous purchase. I'd simply spent 5 years making decisions that seemed completely reasonable, one at a time. Some I'd chosen. Some had just happened to me quietly while I wasn't looking. Either way, the math didn't care which was which. My problem wasn't that I started spending recklessly. It was that every raise quietly raised the cost of being me. Some of it left before it even reached my account. Taxes, deductions, the invisible slice that never shows up in the "I got a raise" feeling. Some of it became new fixed costs, an apartment, a car, things that don't ask permission to keep charging you every month. Some of it was standards that shifted without a decision attached. Dinners, trips, a version of normal that got more expensive while I was busy living my life. And some of it was simply the cost of things I already had, climbing on their own, unannounced. None of that makes any single choice a mistake. Living alone wasn't the problem. Neither was the car or the dinners or the trips. The problem was that my lifestyle got a raise every single time I did, automatically, immediately, without me ever deciding how much of that raise I actually wanted to spend. My income doubled, but nobody had ever asked me, how much of this next dollar is going to improve my life? And how much of it is going to buy me freedom? I never stopped to answer, and without an answer, the money found somewhere to go. I didn't overhaul my life after that night. I didn't move to a cheaper apartment or cancel my subscriptions or swear off dinners with friends. I made one change, and it was smaller than people expect. The next time a raise came, $1,000 more a month. I didn't let it flow automatically into a better version of my life. Before anything else absorbed it, I asked myself the question nobody had asked me before. How much of this makes my life better? And how much of this makes me freer? I didn't need a perfect answer. I just needed to give one on purpose before my lifestyle gave one for me. Some of it still went to living better. That was fine. That was allowed. But for the first time, some of it didn't immediately become another expense. It stayed mine. 6 months later, my balance on a random Tuesday wasn't $34. It wasn't some dramatic number either. It was enough to notice. Enough to prove the pattern could be broken. My salary had doubled once already. If yours doubled tomorrow, how much of it would actually make you freer?